Good morning, everyone. Today we will discuss about a join component in Abinitio. So this is how the join component looks like in Abinitio. With two input ports by default, in 0 and in 1, and one output port. And along with this, unused port, reject and error log ports. So whatever we are seeing the ports with yellow highlighted, all or mandatory ports that needs a connection for this. And what it will do. So join reads data from two or more input ports, combines the records with the matching keys according to the transform we specify, and sends the transform record to the output port. And additional ports like unused, reject and error ports allows us to collect the rejected and the unused records. So let's see one by one. So join reads the data from two or more input ports, combines the records with the matching keys according to the transform we specify, and sends the transform records to the output port. And let's see what are the parameters we have in the join component. The first parameter is the count parameter. So by default we have the count as 2. Once you double click on this join component, we will be having a different tab. So description tab, parameters tab, layout and ports tab. On the parameters tab, we will be seeing all the parameters. So we will discuss each of the parameters, but by default account will be having 2. So what it will say? So whenever you have a default count as 2, so the 4 ports are dependent on this count parameter, and along with these 4 ports, 4 parameters are dependent on the count. So what are those ports and parameters? The input ports, unused ports, reject and error ports. So when I say count as 2, I will be getting in 0 and in 1, along with this unused 0, unused 1, reject 0, reject 1, error 0, error 1. These 4 ports are dependent on this count parameter. So if I make it as 3, then I will be getting in 0, in 1, in 2. Then unused 0, unused 1, unused 2. Similarly, reject 0, 1, 2, error 0, 1, 2. And 1 log port and 1 output port. So that is what I meant when the count is dependent. These ports are dependent on the count parameter. And along with these, 4 parameters are dependent. What are those? Record required parameter, Ddup, select and override key parameter. We will discuss all those parameters. Then we have a parameter called sorted input parameter. So for the sorted input parameter, we will be having 2 options. One is input must be sorted, or in memory input need not be sorted. So the first one is input must be sorted, and the other one is in memory input need not be sorted. These are the 2 options we have for sorted input parameter. So whatever the inputs we have connected to the input ports, based on what it has to be sorted. So we have a parameter called key parameter. So in this key parameter, we will be listing down the fields what we want to join on these 2 of these ports. So it says a join condition. So based on these key fields, my input data is sorted or it has not sorted. If the data is sorted on the fields whatever we have listed down on the key parameter, select the sorted input as input must be sorted. Otherwise, select it as in memory so that the join operation will be performed in memory. And we have a parameter called transform. So in this transform, we have to define a function called join, which takes 2 arguments, in 0 and in 1. And according to the business rules, we have to do a join condition. here we can do the transformation and return an output. And then we have a parameter called join type. So what type of the join we need to apply it, whether it's an inner join or outer join or an explicit join. So we have three types of joins in Abinitio: inner, full outer, and explicit join. So if you want to perform an inner join, directly we can perform by selecting inner, or full outer, yes, it's possible by selecting full outer join. And what is this explicit join? So whenever we want to perform like a left outer join or the right outer join, select the join type as explicit join. So by selecting join type as an explicit join, we can perform left outer join or the right outer join. Mainly for performing left outer and right outer, we will select explicit join. But by selecting explicit join, again we can get the results of inner join as well and full outer join as well. So let's see how it will be. So by selecting explicit join, so we will be getting another parameter called record required. Record required 0. When we are discussing about the count parameter, I said 4 parameters are dependent on the count parameter. This is one parameter where it depends on the count. So what does it mean? It depends on the count means when we have a count as 2, we will be getting record required parameters. 2 record required parameters, that is record required 0 and record required 1. So record required 0 and record required 1. So if I want to perform like a left outer join, select record required 0 as true and 1 as false. So that we are expecting all the records from the left table, and wherever there is a non-matching record from the in-one port, produce a null value, so that it gives a left outer join by selecting true and false of the record required, and the join type should be explicit join. So if I want a right outer join, then reverse it, make it false and 1 as true, so that we are expecting all the records from the in-one port, and wherever there is a non-matching record from the N0, there it produces null values. And how can I produce an inner join, another full outer join? Yes, make it both as true, we will get inner join records. And if you make it false, we will get a full outer join. So this is how using an explicit join or inner join, full outer join, left outer join and right outer join. All the records we can get it. But mainly we prefer for left outer join and right outer join. And along with this record required parameter, we have 3 more parameters which depends upon the count parameter. That is select. Here also we will get select 0 and select 1. So select always talks about like a where class in our normal SQL statement. Before processing of this, the join component, I want to do a filtration. So let's say like in 0 I am getting an EMP table record and in one Ddup table record. So I don't want to perform department number 30 from EMP table. Then in such a case, we can write a condition like in dot department number not equal to 30, so that it will not be processed the 30th department record in the join. And these are optional. So like this, select one also, we can write any of the filter conditions, which is part of the Ddup. And we have a parameter called Ddup. This is also dependent on the count parameter. We have Ddup 0 and Ddup 1. So what does this say? A Ddup parameter. So whenever there are a duplicate records on each of the group, so we want to eliminate that duplicate records in the process of join, then we can use this parameter. By default, it will be having do not dedupe the input. So by default it will be having do not dedupe the input. If you want to dedupe the parameter, then make it dedupe the input, dedupe this input. By selecting this, what will happen? So whatever the key field we have selected, on that key field, when there are a duplicate on each of the group, then only one record will be selected from each of the group. So by default, the Ddup in the join component will select a lost record particular to each of the group, so that we can avoid duplicate processing in the join. And we have a parameter called override key. This is also dependent on the count parameter. We have override key 0 and override key 1. So this is an alternative name for the key parameter. So if I want to select a key field, then by double clicking on this key parameter, I can able to see the record format of in0 only. I cannot able to see the record format of first, that is in one port. So let's take a small example. I have like EMP, on the EMP, employee number, employee name, manager number, salary, job, and department number. These are the fields I have it. And from DPT, I have like department number, department name, and location. So here the join fields our department number in both of these tables. So whenever you double click on the key parameter, you can able to see only the fields from EMP, that is in0. I cannot able to see the fields of DNO, DNAME, and location. This is part of in1. So select the key fields which are part from in0. So now let's see how a select query could be converted to these parameters. So I have a query like select store from EMP, E is an alias, and GPT, D is an alias, where E dot DPT NO is equal to D dot DNO. So this is my query. How can we translate this query to the Abinitio join component? So here what we are selecting, select store. So store refers all the fields from both the tables, because I have not given aliases here, E dot store or D dot store to select it. So it will select all the fields from both the tables, whatever we have listed in the front class. So this store talks about an output port, and whatever the tables we have listed in the front class will be converted to an input port, in0 and in1. This is our in0 and this is in1. And here, whenever we double click on the key parameter, I can able to see the fields from or the record format of EMP. So I will be selecting DPTNO as a key parameter, so that E.DPTNO will be listed down. So where can I select D.DNO in such a case? Because I cannot view the record format or the field from in1 in the key parameter. So that is where we require override key to select DNO as my key field. So if I have a field like, I know that DPTNO is a department number and DNO is also a department number, but a component will not be knowing that a DNO should be joined with DPTNO. If I have a field like DPTNO in department, that is in one port also, then no need to perform any of the override keys. Automatically, this full select query will be applied. Now what all the parameters we have selected, using this, a full select query will be applied, like on the key parameter itself. By selecting department number DPTNO as a key field, the join condition will be applied, that is E.DPTNO is equal to D.DPTNO. But in this case, I have like DNO. So To apply this or the join component to know that DNO is my key field from in1, we have to select override key 1 as DNO. So by double clicking this override key 1, I can able to see the record format of in1, that is DNO, dname and location. Then you select DNO. By doing this, a join query is applied. So these are the mandatory things which we have to do it. Then after that, we have some more parameters where it will talk about where the join components should run and how we get the performance and all. So let's discuss one by one. Then we have a parameter called max memory. Max memory is the parameter we have it. So what it says? So this parameter we will get it when we select sorted input parameter as input must be sorted. So when we have selected sorted input parameter as input must be sorted, then only we can able to see the parameter called max memory. By default, we will be having 8 MB of the size. So what will happen by this max memory parameter? So this 8 MB of the default amount of the memory will be occupied in the disk to run the join processing. So the join component, when running the graph, the join component will occupy 8 MB of the size, whatever we have given in the max memory. By default 8 MB will be there. So that amount of the memory will be occupied on the disk for performing a join operation. And we have another parameter called max score. Max score by default we will be having 64 MB. So what it will say? So this amount of the memory will be occupied in the RAM. But when it will come, this parameter. So when we select sorted input parameter as in memory input need not be sorted, then we will get a max score parameter listed with 64 MB as a default memory. And in this case, we don't get max memory option. Then if we selected sorted input parameter as in memory input need not be sorted, then we want it saying max memory, but max score is the parameter will be available with 64 MB. So 64 MB bytes of memory will be occupied in the RAM for processing of the join. And we have a parameter called check sort. By default it will be true. So this parameter becomes available when we select sorted input parameter as input must be sorted. So in this parameter I just said that my input will be sorted based on the key field, whatever we have given. But the sorted input parameter by setting it to input must be sorted, the join component does not make sure that my data is sorted according to the key parameter or not. But the check sort is the parameter which will make sure that the data should be sorted on the key field. By default it will be true. So this parameter will make sure that the data will be in sorted order according to the key parameter. So whenever it encounters the unsorted order or the first unsorted order, then my graph will be failure. And this depends upon the settings of the reject threshold. If the reject threshold is abort on first reject, then the graph will fail. And we have a parameter called driving. So this is an important parameter. By default, the driving parameter contains 0. What does it mean? So by default, the 0th port is the driving port. And this parameter becomes available when we select sorted input parameter as in memory input need not be sorted. Once again I will tell you, max memory and check sort parameter becomes available when we select sorted input parameter as input must be sorted. And max score And driving parameter becomes available when we select in-memory input need not be sorted for sorted input parameter. So, if it is in-memory, we will get an option called driving with 0 port as a driving port. By default, it will be 0. But how to make sure that which port I need to select as a driving port? Let's take a small example. Assume that I have a count 3. So, in such a case, I will be having in0, in1 and in2. And in0 file I have like 40 MB of the data, and in1 is 85 MB of my data, and in2 is 50 MB of data. So, in this case, which one will become my driving port? How to decide it? So, whichever the input file has huge amount of the data, then that port should be selected as a driving port. In this case, in1 is having huge amount of the data when compared with in0 and in2. So, in such a case, we have to select one is my driving port so that we will get a better performance than placing it a default value as 0. So, what will happen by selecting in1 as my driving port? So, other than the in1, all other ports will be loaded into memory. What is the amount of the memory we have specified in the max core? That amount will be occupied in the RAM. So, we have 64 MB of bytes in the RAM already allocated for join component. So, all non-driver files will be loaded into the RAM. So, in this case, in0 and in2 will become my non-driver files. In1 is a driver file. So, what will happen? So, this is a 64 MB RAM. Let's say like this is a RAM. So, in this, we have occupied 64 MB of bytes. MB of bytes of memory we have occupied in the RAM. So, what will happen? So, first, in0 will be loaded into the RAM. My RAM may be having a huge amount of the data, but for processing of the join component, we have occupied 64 MB, whatever the amount of memory we have specified in the max core. That much amount of the memory is occupied by the join component. So, first non-drivers will be loaded. So, that is in0 will be loaded into the RAM, 40 MB will be occupied for in0, then remaining how much we have, 24 MB is the balance. So, then another non-driver file, that is in2 will be loaded into the RAM of 24 MB. So, out of 50 MB, only 24 MB of the RAM will be allocated, because I have maximum size of 64 MB for the max core. So, remaining 26 MB from the in2 file will be spilled to the disk. So, 40 MB from in0 and 24 MB from in2 will be loaded into the RAM, and remaining 26 MB from in2 file will be loaded into the disk. Once we load the data into the RAM, and if it is filling to the disk, after completion of this, we will be reading the data from the in1 file and doing a join operation. So, this is what a driving port will say. So, here the challenging thing is, we have to decide which one should be the driving port. So, when among the files, which one you find it as a huge number of bytes, that file we have to select it as a driving file. So that all the non-driver files will be loaded into RAM. After the data has been loaded into the RAM, or if it is filled to the disk, then the join operation will be performed. Then we have a parameter called maintain order. So by default, the maintain order will be false. Why do we require it? So this parameter also becomes available when we select sorted input parameter as in memory. Input will not be sorted. So in such a case, other than the key field, if the data is sorted and we are expecting it, that is from the driver file, other than the key field, if the data is sorted and we are expecting the output to be on the same order, then we have to select this maintain order parameter as true. Otherwise, leave it for the default, that is false. It will try to make the output file with the order of the same order as the input file. But here the challenging thing is the data should not be spilled into the disk. If the data has spilled to the disk, there are very less chances to maintain the order of the input file with the output file. Then in such a cases, by making it the maintain order to true, the graph will be a failure. So most of the chances we don't expect the output file to be the order of the same as input file if the data is sorted on the other key parameters, other than the key parameters also. But if you have a requirement in such a case, then make sure that the data, that is the non-driver files data will be fitted into the RAM, whatever amount of the memory you have specified in the max core value. Otherwise, if the data is filled to the disk, there are a very less chances that you will get the maintained order of the output file to be same as the input file. So these are all the parameters we have in the join component. That is count, sorted input, key, transform, join tag, record required, select, Ddup, override key, max memory, max score, check sort, driving and maintain order. And now we will see practically. First you will see inner join with sorted data. So by seeing the join component itself, I can say this join component is sorted input is set to input must be sorted because A by Z is in sorted. So input must be sorted because otherwise it will be striked off. We will see that also. Let's see the parameters one by one. So count is set to true. So we have two input ports and all other ports also, and is reject and error port. Now I will make it to 3. Let's see. We will get into also. See, into and is it 2, reject 2 and error 2. So 4 ports are dependent on along with this. I will show you by making it to 2 only the parameters. What all parameters we have it? We have Ddup 01, select 01, override key 01. We have missed out record required. No, we have not missed because here the join type is selected as inner join. If you select join type as explicit, then only you can able to see record required parameter here. Now I can able to see record required 01. See, when we select join type as explicit join, then only the record required parameter becomes available. But how many parameters will be available is dependent on the count parameter. So totally 4 ports and 4 parameters are dependent on the count parameter. That is record required, Ddup, select and override key. By making it the count parameter as 3, let's see. Yes, 4 ports are dependent, this we have seen, and along with this now become record required 0, 1 and 2. Previously it was 0 and 1. Now Ddup 0, 1, 2. Select 0, 1, 2. Override key 0, 1, 2. Yes. So 4 ports and 4 parameters are dependent on the count parameter. And as said, input must be sorted. We have two options. Input must be sorted or in memory input need not be sorted. So I have selected it as input must be sorted. And before discussing this, one second. I will show you the details of the data. Okay, my input file is department number is the key, but department number, the data is not sorted from the N0 or EMP. And DAPT, yes, the data is sorted. So that is the reason I have used a sort component to sort the data on the department number field. So input must be sorted, so that on the department number key field, the data will be sorted by using a sort component, and the sorted data will be flowing to the join component. And key parameter, I will open. Okay, now I can able to see the record format of EMP only. I will just show you the record format. Here, employee number, name, manager number, salary, department number, DPT, NO is the field. And from department, DNO, DNAME and location. So when I double click on this key field or the key parameter, I can able to see the record structure from N0 only. I cannot able to see DNO, DNAME and location, which is part of in1 port. So select the key fields from N0. If you have the same name or the field name is same from the other ports, then we no need to select from the override key. And if there is a non-matching, then we have to select it from the override key parameter. So on the override key, then double click on this. Now you can able to access from N1. I can able to see DNO, DNAME and location. So thereby we have applied a select query. So store is talks about an output port, what all the fields we require, and from class we will talk about input file, input port, and join condition we are applying using keys under the override keys. This is how we are applying a complete select query in the join component. Okay. Then after, by selecting input must be sorted, we can able to see max memory parameter. I cannot able to see max core, driving and maintain order parameters. So, and select to in memory. Now you can able to see A to Z is striked off by selecting it. Select input must be sorted in memory. Yes. You can able to see the difference of the join component. Okay. Now you will see the parameter. Yes. Now I can able to see max core, maintain order and driving, not the max memory. Okay. I will select it as input must be sorted. And let's run the graph. So one thing, I will place a voucher because I wanted to view the sorted order data. And let's run the graph. The reason I have selected a voucher is we can view the data only on the dataset components or the database components. I cannot view the data on sort components or the transform components. See this? By right clicking this, I can able to view the data. This is an input file and this is an output file. I can view the data. But I cannot view the data on the sort component. It is disabled. And transform component, I cannot view. But on the flows, I can view the data. But I don't have an option to view data. To get the option, on the flow, select a voucher or apply the voucher. This is the add voucher, enable a voucher, and this is an add voucher. So like this, you can add the voucher. So within the voucher, the data will be, or the data set will be created so that you can view the data. Till end, I want you to view. Yes. Now the voucher has given the data. It is in sorted order. If I open this data from the input file, it will be unsorted data. So it will be difficult for join comparison. So 10, 10, 20, 30, then 10, 20, 10, 20 times like this. This is unsorted on the department number. So this is the sorted one. And let's see the output file for the inner join. Yes, 9 records we got it because 10, 20 and 30 departments are matching with this in one. 10, 20, 30 and 40 is there. But we don't have 40 here, we have 58 departments. So 50 is not matching. All matching records we got it. 10, 20, 30. Total 9 records. And the order of the records is also whatever from the in1 it is in0, it is flowing to the join component. The same order you can able to see it. So this is an inner join with sorted data, and you will see inner join with unsorted data. There won't be much difference. Only thing is parameter we have selected it as in memory, because on the in0 the data is not sorted on the department number field. That is the reason we have selected it in memory. And I will show you the transformation also. This is what the transformation. So here in the transform parameter, we will write a logic. So here I have assigned each of the input field to each of the output field. But in the real time, if we have like 100 or 200 fields, we never do like this. Each of the field assigned to each of the output field. So we will use a wildcard character. So our code will be out dot store (n0 dot store) and out dot store (n1 dot store). But will this work? No, because the compiler will be confused which one to be assigned first, whether it is in0 or in1. So we have to prioritize it. So put a numerical value, that is 1. This is my first priority. So assign the field, output field from in0 first. After assigning all the fields from the in0 to the output, then whatever the balance fields we have in the output record format, assign it with 1. That is in1. So first the statement will be executed this one, that is in0 fields. All these fields will be assigned first. Then the control will come to the in1 and assign these fields at a time. We no need to define each and every output field. This is to validate our transformation. Okay. Okay, let's run the graph. The results will be same, but order of the records will be same as in0. Now we have the record in this order. This is unsorted, and the output file will also be created with the same order. Yes, 9 records which are matching 10, 20 and 30. This is the default behavior of maintain order parameter. But by default it will be false. That is why our graph will not fail, even though there is a non-maintenance of the order of the output file with the driver file, that is in0. If there is an order mismatch in the output file also, the graph will not be a failure. But by default, it will try to maintain the output file with the same as the driver file. As we have a very less number of records, it is giving the order of the output file with the same as input file, that is in0 file. This is the default behavior we have it. If mandatorily we require it, the maintain order of the output file to be same as the driver file, then we have to make sure that whatever the amount of the max score value we have it, that will be more enough for the non-driver files to fit and run the join component for the join operation. Otherwise, the graph will be a failure. And we will see left outer join with sorted data. So for left outer join, we have to select join type as explicit join, and record required parameter becomes available. Then record requires 0 to be true and 1 to be false. Yes. Explicit join as a join type, and record required true and 1 as false. So what we will say by selecting one as one, use null for the missing record. True means record is required from this input. So from 0, that is in 0. That is from EMP table we require, or EMP file we require all the records in the output. So we got it, all the 10 records. So there is one record, 50th department, which is not matching with this in one, that is DEPT. So let's see the graph, let's see the output file. Yes, we got it, even the 50th department. So till here, whatever we have seen, the inner join, those records, and 50th department is elect outer join record. And here we are getting, instead of null, some default values we are getting it. How we are getting it? That is one thing, we will see it. And along with this, one record has flown to unused one. That is the 40th department from the DEPT file, because it has not participated in the transformation. That is the reason it went to unused port. So let's see the transformation, how we are getting the n by a values. Because we have prioritized the department number, DNO, DNAME and location. So if the value is coming from the in1, we assign the value to the output. If we are getting a null value, then take it the second prioritized, assigning it with 0 and n by a as per the rule we have defined. So that is the reason on the output port we are getting 0s and n by a for the non-matched record. So here we are getting 0 and n by a because we have prioritized in the transformation. Okay, let's see another there. Left outer join, right outer join we will see. Right outer join, sorted data. Now we are expecting all the records from the in1, that is 10, 20, 30, 40. So there are a matching records, 9 records, and one record is non-matching, that is 40 department should be flowing through here. So for the record format of in0, that is employee number, name, manager number, salary, department number should come with null values in the output file, and DNO, DNAME location for the 10th record should be part of the values here. And now 50th department from the in0 should be flowing to unused 0. Let's see, let's run the graph. Okay. Okay, we'll view the data. Yes, all the null values for the 40th department. Till here, this is an inner join and this is a right outer join record with null values which are part of one in0. And let's see the transformation why we are getting null, because we have not given any prioritized rule for in0 field. Only for in1 field we have given a prioritized. For in0 we have not. So if you are getting a value, it will be assigned, otherwise it will be assigned with the null values. So that is why we are getting null values in the output file, and unused 0 is part of 50th department. Yes, 50th department is part of unused 0. Okay. Now we will see another graph with rejected data, right outer join. So now we have seen unused 0 and 1. We have not seen rejected. Now we will see how the data will be rejected. Right outer join with rejected data. Yes, we got it only 9 records. Few of the records got rejected. We will see why there is a rejection. Obviously unused 0 will be a 50th department. Yes. And one reject 1 has 1 record. What is that record? Yes, 40th department. The reason is we have an output record format. We have changed the record format where this field will not capture the null values. So there is a rejection of the record. That is, when we are doing a right outer join, whenever there is a non-matching record with the in1, there will be a null capture for the fields from the in0. So, but the record format is not satisfying to capture the null. Let's go back to the previous graph. Right outer join with sorted data. Here we can able to see the null values. Yes, the null values from in0 field for the 40th department. Because here the record format is able to capture the null values. That is why all the in0 fields having null values. But in this graph, the record format is not able to capture the null values. That is why the 40th department, when it is coming for the fields from EMP, is getting populated with the null values. So this record is getting rejected. That is in1 record. A 40th department record is getting rejected. So this is the record getting rejected. The reason is null value in assignment for out.employee number. Yes, null value in assignment for out.employee number. So this record is going to the output file, but it is not able to capture this. So the record is getting rejected. So for right outer join, record required parameters will be false and true. Exclusive join as a join type, false and true. Then we will see another graph. Full outer join. So full outer join is all the records from all the ports wants to be in output file. Yes. Now we got 11 records. 9 records or inner join record. 1 record, that is 50th department from in0 and 40th department from in1. So totally 9 plus 2 records, 11 records. This is a full outer join. Yes. Actually here inner join, and this is a right outer join record, which is part of null values for the left one, and this is a part of left outer join record, which is part of null values from the right. So totally this is a full outer join, all the records from all the ports. So none of the records went to unused reject error. And let's see the other graph. The same thing, full outer join. Okay, now we got it, only 9 records. The reason is the output record format is not able to capture the null values. So the records are getting rejected. So which record will be part of record reject 0? 50th department. Because null values are being assigned for out.dno. So it is not able to capture. And similarly, 40th department record will be reject 1. Because null assignment for out.employee number. Yes. So the reject error message will be null assignment for out.dno. Yes. And here out.employee number. Out.employee number, null assignment. So here again our practical discussion. So if you are interested to learn Abinitio, then drop an email to wanttolearnabinitio @gmail.com. If you are interested to learn Abinitio, then drop an email to wanttolearnabinitio @gmail.com. Thank you.